Hello everybody, today I'll be discussing what makes a text worthy of that classic title. In other words, what makes a classic text a classic text? While the Google definition of a classic is a work of art that is regarded and recognized for its established value, I think the real meaning of the word actually goes deeper into that. Specifically, I think that classic texts have to be noteworthy in their genre or near perfect actually, and I think they have to have extreme influence on other texts, other derivative texts. We often refer to a classic if we think it's an essential reading or worthy of study. Traditionally, these classic texts are labeled by the Western literary canon, which sadly does exclude most female writers or other minority groups. An example of a female writer being recognized in the Western literary canon is Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus, written by Mary Shelley. As I said this before, this 1823 novel by Mary Shelley is a rare example of the Western literary canon recognizing a female writer. This text took the fears of society from science and scientific development, especially in 1780 when they discovered that applying electricity to a dead body can reanimate it. People thought that eventually we will be able to bring people back from the dead with this scientific discovery, and this did create a lot of fear and kind of controversy behind the scientific research, and at the time people really did not want more scientific development on this topic, as they did think that it had the potential to create undead monsters. Natural philosophy is the genius that has regulated my fate. I desire, therefore, in this narration, I state those facts which led to my predilection for that science. This is a quote from Victor Frankenstein from Mary Shelley's classic novel. Victor Frankenstein often refers to his creation as a scientific discovery, and as he refers to this as science, this actually grounds the story in reality, which creates more fear in the reader. So this basis in reality and science actually emphasizes the message of the whole story, while also emphasizing the emotions the audience is supposed to feel. And because of this heavy reliance of science and scientific research in creating emphasis of the message in the story, Shelley's text is often regarded as the first piece of European science fiction. A modern manifestation of this story is the 2012 Tim Burton film Frankenstein. This film is kind of directed towards a family audience, having the same basic general concept with the same fears shown in the original text by Mary Shelley. The film does aim to tell the story of Frankenstein's monster in a way that can be exposed to a young audience, children in fact, so that they are aware of this essential part of pop culture. This film does use the similar concept of using electricity to bring life to a dead creature. Young children may actually become immersed into the story and think that this is real science. But instead of displaying Frankenstein's creations as a monster, it's shown as a dog, and this allows the audience to further sympathize with the protagonist as he simply wants to bring back this animal, his pet, because of his emotions, because he misses the pet instead of his own fame and for his own scientific discoveries. Another text that is regarded as a classic is H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. This 1895 story was the first to introduce the concept of a time machine to travel through time. Although time travel was used in other stories, there was never the idea of a time machine. And this concept of a time machine is now regularly used in every other sci-fi movie. The novella was released in several different parts, and the full thing was released when Wells was 34 years old. This was his first time travel related story. While there would be others in the future, this was his first. There are really 4 dimensions, 3 which we can call 3 planes of space, and a 4th, time. The text describes Einstein's theory of special relativity to an audience that may have not been aware of it. In a time of great scientific discovery, the text explores the composer's own fears of our evolution and our eventual demise. An appropriation of this classic story is Back to the Future, directed by Robert Zemeckis. This 1985 action-adventure comedy uses the time travel trope to reflect on the last 30 years and how the American lifestyle has extremely evolved throughout those 30 years. The director himself was brought up during the 50s, so he would have an extreme nostalgia, and it was clear that he was aiming for that same nostalgia for his viewers. The protagonist of the film, Marty McFly, uses a conceptually similar time travel machine to go back to the 50s, clearly drawing inspiration from Wells' original time machine idea. But instead of predicting the future, the film uses the time travel device to actually reflect on the past, not only from a distance, but it also criticizes the past at some points, highlighting some of the discriminations that were faced during that time period, and how in the 30 years those discriminations have improved or even been eradicated. The impact of Wells and Shelley's novels are often overlooked in our culture, but studying these films will not only tell us the evolution of our art, but also our society. This is why these texts are worthy of their position in the Western literary canon and deserve the title of classics. Thank you for watching.